So with the release of the Quest 3S only being 2 weeks away, I thought I would go through 10 of the best games for the brand new console. The games that I've selected on here have either been selected because of their enhanced graphics or the fact that they are just really great games. And if you do think a game is amazing and hasn't been mentioned, please recommend it in the comments below. Starting off our list, I have gone with Veil VR. I have gone with this because it is an amazing virtual reality shooter title that is really going to benefit off the added power that the Quest 3S has over the Quest 2, providing not only enhanced graphics but a better gameplay experience overall. Veil VR is one of the few standalone shooters that plays just like its PC counterpart, and that is because they delayed the release of the standalone version for quite some time to get it perfect. Veil VR is a bit more on the expensive side, retailing for around $30 on the standalone version. However, I think it is 100% worth it. The next game I wanted to mention is Red Matter 2. Now, I remember playing the first Red Matter and it was one of the first best experiences that I had on standalone VR because the visuals were compelling and the overall puzzle gameplay was something unique. The whole dystopian Cold War setting just works really well in this case. And from what I know, the developers try and capitalize on the increased graphical power of each release when it comes to brand new headsets. And I remember Red Matter 2 was one of the only games that actually took advantage of some of the Quest Pro's features. So without a doubt, the game is going to look visually stunning on the Quest 3S. Next up, I'm going to recommend Bone Labs, which is a physics-based adventure game that rivals the likes of Half-Life Alyx. And considering Half-Life Alyx isn't even on standalone headsets, Bone Labs currently is the best physics game that you can actually get on a standalone headset. Now, Bone Labs is one of the most popular VR games of all time, and that is because it is an amazing game with an amazing story that combined with some of the most realistic virtual reality physics that any of us have ever seen. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend looking into this game online because there are some amazing clips of what you can do in this game. And that's not even to talk about the modding capabilities with this game. Although virtual reality modding is mainly for PCs, thanks to websites like mod.io, you are able to modify your standalone virtual reality games as well, and Bone Labs is one of those games that has the most mods available. The fourth game I'm going to mention on this list is a personal favourite of mine. Nonetheless, it is still an incredible game that deserves a lot more attention than it already has, and that is Ancient Dungeon VR. This is a game that goes to show that graphics don't mean everything in the world of virtual reality, and you can create an amazing game just by using a couple of cubes. Okay, now that I say that sounded kind of reductive. Let's go with pixel art instead. Because that is essentially what this game is. It is a pixel art horror game where you go through different dungeons trying to get to the end, and I will tell you right now, it is also very difficult. It is a game that relies on you failing so that you can learn from your mistakes and get further and further into the dungeon each and every time that you try. And there are so many different paths you can take in these dungeons, from literal paths to skill upgrades to what weapon you choose to bring into the dungeon with you. You can have a different gameplay every single time. This game is only $14.99 and it is most definitely worth your time and your money. Coming up next, we have got Blade and Sorcery, and come on, we can't do a top 10 games list without even mentioning Blade and Sorcery. I'm mentioning this because this is one of the best combat games, the best physics games, it's the best in so many categories, and that is without even mentioning the new 1.0 update that is going to be released on standalone headsets very soon. Now, this is probably the VR game that I have sunk the most hours into, and it's easy to see why. There are so many different ways that you can fight enemies in this game, it is actually unreal, and that is also without mentioning the mods. The base game of Blade and Sorcery is going to be going for around $25 once the full game releases, so yeah, granted, it's still a little bit on the steep side, but even so, it is so worth it. And next up, I'm going with Arizona Sunshine 2. Now, I really didn't want to include too many shooter games, but I would classify this game as an adventure game. Or actually, no, I take that back. I would classify it as a survival game rather than a shooter game. And it is most definitely one of the best virtual reality games of all time. It's a game that has a lot of horror aspects, but really doesn't take itself too seriously either. So it is pretty much the perfect game to just mess around for a couple of hours while being scared absolutely shitless. On top of that, a little honourable mention that I want to just put here is the first Arizona Sunshine game remastered. The first Arizona Sunshine game was legendary when it came out, and the fact that they remastered it so that it plays a bit more like Arizona Sunshine 2 was a massive step in the right direction from the developers. Next up, we've got Beat Saber, and I don't think we can have a virtual reality top 10 games video without even mentioning Beat Saber. This is like the game that has sold the most out of everything, and that is because it is a simple yet incredible game that has a ton of replay value and a ton of music packs that you can buy to keep the game just as fun as it was from when the first time you played it was. I don't really need to mention more about this game, everybody knows what Beat Saber is. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this next game is going to be one that has been getting a lot of attention online recently, and it is Waltz of the Wizard. With the mix of different spells that you can perform and Scully's charismatic voice lines, there is definitely a lot of fun to be had in this game. It's just like one of those games, like a sandbox that you can mess around in, do whatever you want for a couple of hours at a time, and you will just enjoy every single minute of it. And even better, it's only $14.99. That's like the equivalent of 4 FIFAs. Anyway, moving on to number 9, I wanted to include Roblox VR. It's by no means the best game on virtual reality, but it's got so many different experiences that you can experience, I just could not mention it. There are some like really cool games on there, like I've played a tower defense game and that was actually very interactive. I really enjoyed my time on that. But there are so many more experiences to experience on Roblox VR than there is on any other social platform like Rec Room or Meta Horizon Worlds, which by the way are also 2 very amazing apps in VR you should check out. And finally at number 10, I'm going with a game that you have seen quite a lot in the background of my videos recently, and that is I Am Cat. This is possibly one of the most unique experiences I have had in virtual reality, and it is just so much fun. It just never gets old. And as I am making this video, it is actually the top seller this week in games. So a lot of people are picking up this game, and there's no surprise as to why. Basically, you get to roleplay as a cat, play many different interactive games, as well as beat up old people. I mean, what's not to love? So anyway, as a way to end this video, I wanted to do a list of honourable mentions, which is basically the shooters that I did not get to mention, and that is because there are so many shooters, they could fill up their entire list 5 times over. So the list of VR shooters that I did not mention in this video, but are still really good and worth checking out, goes as follows. Ghost of Tabor, Pavlov Shack, Contractors VR, Contractors Showdown, Tactical Assault, Super Hot VR, Into the Radius, Bulletstorm, Zero Caliber 2... I can't be bothered naming anymore. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, it'd be very much appreciated if you could check out some of my other videos. Also, if you like VR content, it would mean a lot to me if you were to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.